Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to BoomerAngst, a program that takes on issues affecting this country and the world for that matter through the eyes of the fastest growing population, the baby boomer. I'm your host, Ray Moore. Today's program, Random Thoughts. The first life lesson to be learned from this program is never get behind a Buick if you're driving. I have nothing against Buicks as a car, but I will tell you that ever since I was a young child in a car, up to the point of learning how to drive and now driving for several years, every single time I have gotten behind a Buick, it drives 20 miles an hour slower than it's supposed to. I think it's because of the age of the people that buy Buicks. Can't swear to it, but please do your own observations and get back to me. I'd love to know if anyone has seen a Buick drive the speed limit. I never have. Life lesson number 2, never take a waffle out of a toaster using a metal fork. You only have to do that once to understand why. Now, with the theme of truly random thoughts, the next thing that occurred to me is bachelor and bachelorette parties. There was one with a friend recently that triggered this thought process, and I'm thinking, when the bachelor or bachelorette party comes along, the person getting married decides to have a party with their friends. All the guys get together or all the girls get together and they go out and they have a good time, but a big basis for a lot of these parties usually revolves around sex. And I don't mean necessarily having a big orgy or get together where everyone does that. I'm just saying that between the toys and the strip clubs and the overall theme and sometimes the gifts that are given at the bachelor and bachelorette party revolve around sex. And guess what? These people who are bachelors and bachelorettes for the last time in their lives, supposedly, are celebrating. This is part of a rite of passage to celebrate the fact that they're about to be married. Now, it's a very good use of foreshadowing if you're in the literary world at all, because all of this, I'm free and I'm easy and I'm single and let's have a big fun party time revolving around sex, because after you're married, it goes away. That is something that needs to be explored, fixed, and remedied for those people who are married and that sex does indeed go away. But I just find it hysterical that a bachelor or a bachelorette party, part of the celebration of the impending marriage, has to do with sex. Because on the single side, apparently that's fun and games and happens all the time. The minute you say I do, you don't, which is too bad. Random thought. Again, completely unrelated. I thought about the idea of the very prevalent thing in the news the last few years about priests and the issues with priests and their propensity toward bad behavior related to when they are or were teaching, in terms of usually boys, and what's gone on there, and all of the people in their maybe 20s, maybe 30s or older that have come forth and said, Father so-and-so did this to me when I was in X grade and blah, blah. You see all that, you hear about all that, you hear all of the things related to priestly stories and negativity in that group. A lot of things can be talked about and a lot of cases can be made for all male chastity, all of the vows and everything that you're doing, and the fact that you can't be married if you're a priest and so forth, at least not in the Catholic faith. Other faiths allow it, Catholics don't, and that possibly could contribute to some of these issues. I have never, ever heard any news story, read a book, seen a headline, anything related to nuns in this same capacity. You're telling me that an entire group of women married to God, so to speak, with one another, living with one another, praying, helping people, teaching. Nuns are teachers until they can no longer move, because you cannot fire or retire a nun, apparently. They teach until they're 120. I had a few of those when I was in grade school. But none of the priest-like activities have I ever heard related to nuns. I really would like to know if there are any nuns out there that either have stories, have ideas about this, or can shed some light on why nuns might have escaped this problem, so to speak, in their lives. Because I would have thought that human beings, being human beings, the same restrictions apply to nuns as do priests. They can't be married. They have vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Tell me that no nuns have ever come into these issues. I'd be interested to know. The next section here is going to be 2 or 3 or 4 separate ideas related to education. I've done an education program already, but you know what? There are some follow-ups and some things that have gone on that I need to lay into and lay out and talk about. And education is a big, big problem in this country. Here goes. First issue regarding education: laying off of teachers. In this economy, and I'm not really mixing economy and education, I just want to make the point, the last thing you need to be doing in an economy where it's so tough to work, so tough to find food, work, shelter, homes, all the rest of it, the last thing you should be doing is laying off teachers, because people need better education. Children need better education, not less teachers around, less qualified teachers that can actually do the job. One important aspect of teaching, and I found this out through practical experience, I've been doing it for about 3 years now, substitute teaching. The criteria in our state for substitute teachers presently is you need to have a BA, and you can then substitute. Fill out a form, pay some money. You can substitute with a bachelor's degree. Doesn't have to be in education, but they figure you've been through school, you've been to college, you can teach kids on a one-time, two-time basis with a lesson plan in front of you. Some school districts have gone from having 800 subs in 1 year to having only 300 the next year, solely because of this. One in particular that I know of, and I don't know how many across the country, again, please enlighten me. And I know there's going to be teachers on both sides of this issue. Some districts say they do not feel that if you are not, they feel that if you're not a qualified teacher, you can't handle a classroom. If you're not a certified teacher, you can't handle a classroom. I disagree. On a one-time, two-time basis per subbing, what happens is the teacher has a lesson plan. They have a book, they have an answer book, they have worksheets, they have movies, they have things that can be done to follow a lesson plan for the day, and the kids will not skip a beat. You read the lesson plan, you chime in, you let them read, you get questions answered, you give them worksheets, you give them work to do and homework to do related to the lesson. They've been in school, they know what they're supposed to do. Tell me that a person that's been to college, has a degree, and has been working in the workplace for several years can't handle that. I don't get that at all. On a 1 or 2 day thing where the teacher's going to be gone or is sick or at a meeting or something, when you have a lesson plan in front of you, a living, breathing, thinking human being with a college degree can handle giving reading lessons to children, doing math. Here's the lesson, here's the 3 or 4 pages, here's the homework. We can handle that. There is no earthly reason to say that you only have to be a certified teacher in order to be able to do that justice. A long-term sub, yes. 3 or 4 months of maternity leave, something like that, they need to follow the curriculum, and possibly a full-time certified teacher is best suited for that. On these 1-to-1 day bases, I don't get it at all. There's another suburban district out here. All kinds of messed up at the beginning of the year and before the year started. Power plays, scheduling snafus, it was a big mess. Also for the technology of it. For 1st through 3rd, 4th grades, where they have all this collection of computers. There was some issues with getting the computers up and running. For 3 or 4 days, the kids did not, in technology class, did not touch a computer because the computers weren't ready. Nobody's fixing it, nobody's doing anything. Basically, the teacher was babysitting for 3 or 4 days until the computers got fixed. and the teachers took it upon themselves to do it. It's ridiculous. No child left behind. Thank goodness they're looking at that and they're going to change it. The scores plummeted when they did No Child Left Behind. To just push a kid along was insane. The children need discipline. The children need guidance. And here's my last point about education, ending on a positive note. There are 2 Chicago schools that were in the news recently. Newspaper article, I read about it. They were probably on the news as well. 2 Chicago schools turned things around. They were magnet schools or charter schools. They redid the reading curriculum themselves because it wasn't working. The teachers got together and fixed it themselves. They care. They lean on the kids to do the work and to learn. The principal cares. The principal brought the parents in. What a concept. I've been saying that ever since I've done this and talked to anybody who will listen. The parents need to get involved. If they drop the kids off at the school, pick them up at the end, or the kid walk home and get on a bus to get home, and there's no parent in between, there's no education. You have to use parents to help further this. The children cannot be left alone to do it themselves, and the teachers certainly can't do it alone because they've got 30 kids in each room, 30 plus sometimes. How are they going to do it? How are they going to do it without the parents' help? It can't be done. One more thing related to schools and education. The last line of defense before we lose our minds at the adult level, teenagers. What they're learning in school, what is the emphasis of their bodies versus their minds, what they do with their leisure time, the idea once again of discipline, and their fitness for future work. I cannot tell you the frustration of teachers that I've heard related to teenagers, teachers that are frustrated over teens getting to high school, not being, well, junior high, then high school, not being able to read or write effectively. There was an article today related to them, the schools moving away from caring about cursive writing because of the computer. The person isn't going to be able to write a check or sign their name if you don't keep penmanship up as part of one of the things that kids need to learn. People don't understand that when you get to work, your first line of when you go to work at McDonald's or anywhere, you have to learn how to fill out forms. You have to learn how to sign your name, how to read things so that you're not taken advantage of, and that so you get the right things filled out for your insurance and everything else. Children don't get it because the kids don't care. The parents need to be there to explain this to them along with the teachers so the teachers aren't standing alone on an island somewhere and watching the teenagers get to adulthood with little or no skills to compete and do things the way they're supposed to do. What about the boomerang generation? I have a feeling that that has to do with this education problem. The boomerang generation cannot cope. So they get out in the workplace and all of a sudden the world hits them in the face and they turn around and go, "Mommy, I need to come home." That's a problem. We're part of the problem by not preparing them for it. The last part of Random Thoughts will deal with the economy. Gas station taxes. I have seen an article that many Middle East, unfortunately, owners of gas stations are taking money from the taxes owed to the state. There's a big problem with that, and people are looking into it. The pension fund mess. People working for the city with $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 a year jobs, getting $150,000 a year pensions because they were affiliated with the union. Come on. Does that make sense to anybody? And retail companies are asking more and more people to get credit cards to go further and further into, guess what, more debt. That's it for Random Thoughts. I'm Ray Moore. Let me know how you feel next time. Chicago Sports. Take care.